here's the schedule.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started while they set you up. Sorry. Are we ready? Good evening. I'm Ceci Collins. I'm General Counsel for the El Paso Independent School District. It is my pleasure to be here and open up the fourth Citizens Advisory Committee meeting that we have had talking about redistricting. We are doing these presentations in each single member district, this being here tonight at Magoffin, and that is actually in Trustee Hernandez's fourth in district number 4. I will be giving a brief presentation regarding redistricting requirements, the legal requirements that the district needs to follow that are provided by the Texas Education Code. And then Victor Maldonado, our senior data analyst in the analytics department, will be going through some maps that the district has created, and then also maps that this committee has created during the work that's been done so far. So we do have a quorum. We have 4 members present today. We have Ms. Hurd, we have Mr. Thaxton, we have Mr. Martinez, and then we also have Mr. Lopez. And thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the time that you've taken out of your personal lives to do this important work. We also have Trustee Hernandez here with us and also Trustee Irawali. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Push the So EPISD as a school district is made up of single member districts. There are 7 of them. And when you have, after a census, if you are made up of single member districts, you have to redivide if at any time after the census is done, your least populous and your most populous districts have a disparity of 10%. And that's provided in the education code. And there's a timeline by which we have to do it. We have to do it the 90th day, at least the 90th day, before the next election. So these are, on the screen, are our single member districts as they currently exist right now. Number 1 down at the bottom in salmon color is Trustee Hanani's district, district number 1, off to the right, moving up counterclockwise. Number 2 belongs to President Trustee Velarde. Number 3 is the district that belongs to Dr. Acevedo. Number 4 is Trustee Hernandez. Number 5 is up at the top, kind of like the panhandle looking area, is Trustee Irawali, and then off to your left, number 6 is Trustee Flael Avalos, and number 7 is Trustee Daniel Call. These are the districts as they exist, the single member districts as they exist today. And this slide is just to give you a little bit of an idea of the difference between the population from the 2010 census and the 2020 census. These are raw numbers as they exist right now before redistricting. And you can see really kind of the most important thing about this slide is you can see that EPISD within its territory lost approximately 11,000, a little bit more, 11,500 people in the population. So our population has declined. And then we have Ms. Williams that just joined us right now. Thank you.
There's a lot of traffic.
So when we look at that, because remember, we're looking at the least populous and the most populous, those numbers, right? And when you look at the 7 districts all lined up against each other with the current numbers from the census, you can see number 4, District 4, Trustee Hernandez's single member district, and number 5, Trustee Irawali's district, you have a disparity. There are 40,528 versus 51,208. So that's the least populous and the most populous. And the difference there is about 26%. So that triggers us having to redivide because we need to get to below the 10% difference. And then here you can just see again, the most populous is district number 5, the least populous is district number 4. there are some requirements in the code that we have to follow. So, and I'm gonna go over the requirements a little bit more in detail, but the most important requirement right now from the Texas Education Code is when you redivide, the districts must be compact and contiguous. Contiguous meaning touching, and they must be as nearly practicable of equal population. In a perfect world, everybody would have the same number of people in their single-member districts. It's not, and we're dealing with precincts where the precincts vary. And so you'll see as we go along through the process how that plays out.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I apologize, I missed the first couple meetings and such, I'll make the rest of them. On the first slide, you showed the difference between the last census and now and
Yes.
and everything else. The biggest drop was in District 4. Behind that, what caused such a drop in District 4 compared to the other districts?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that question. I do not know.
Do you have any reason?
It could be just growth within the city,
Yeah.
could be people moving out further, but that's a very good
Okay,
question, but
just-
I don't know.
Okay.
So the other requirements, apart from the Texas Education Code, that the district must comply with is from the Open Meetings Act. Any action that the board takes must be in a properly posted meeting, and it needs to be done, obviously, before the deadline, when we need to do it. After the board takes action, we must notify the county elections administrator. And then we need to comply with the Voting Rights Act, and meaning that we can't discriminate on, for any reason on the basis of the protected classes within the act. And in the past, when the district would go through this process, there was a very onerous process of having to comply with what they call pre-clearance, and that was something that the Department of Justice required. We no longer have to do that anymore, so that's not a requirement. So bringing us back to the Education Code, and it's Texas Education Code 11.052F. I'm bringing you back to one of the most important things. Remember, compact and contiguous, and must be as nearly as practicable of equal population. And of course, you have to do it before a certain date, the 90th day before the date of the first election of the trustees. So here we have, again, districts 4 and 5, which the least populous and the most populous districts, as we've identified. And am I going backwards on this? Yes, I just did. All right.
There we go.
There we go. And so, all right, when we're talking about the time frame, 90 days before the election, it's our local policy BBB that dictates when our elections are. Our general elections of the board members shall be on May uniform election dates. And we have staggered schedules. So the next elections will be for districts 2, 6, 7, and those will be in 2023. And then the following elections for 1, 3, 4, and 5, those particular districts won't be until 2025. And so the 90th day, using those dates that we just had from our local policy, it's going to bring us to around February of 2023. So we need to have this accomplished by then. However, our elections administrator says you can't do it any later than December of 2022 because they need to get prepared. And our Board of Trustees, by resolution, had requested that this process be completed by our September board meeting. So that's the time frame that we're working with. And another important thing to keep in mind, and this isn't really for this committee, but I think it's just a curious thing that people should know, is when you go through this process, if the board doesn't take particular action and exercise this particular option under 11.053 of the Texas Education Code, that would mean that every single trustee would be up for re-election by the next election period in May of 2023. They're going to exercise this option because they've indicated that they would like to do that. And it'll be by resolution that they do this. They'll exercise the option so that they remain on the staggered schedules that they already currently have. And so the staggered schedule is, like I said before, May 2023 for 2, 6, and 7, and May of 2025 for the remainder of the districts. Now, in the past, the process that was followed was almost identical to what we're doing right now, except for we're actually taking a lot more steps. They had a timetable, they had a committee of 7 members, just like we have right now, 1 from each trustee. We had public committee meetings. There were designs and maps that were drafted by the analytics department. There were community meetings to present the plans, and ultimately board adoption. What this board did by resolution on May 17th, what they decided is they gave us a timetable, and to start as early as May 18th of 2022, and to culminate in board adoption of our September board meeting, which will be on September 20th, right? They also asked us to do designs of plans and maps by staff and with legal assistance. Excuse me for just 1 second. They wanted us, a committee made up of 7 members, just like we have, and what they did in the past. They wanted all of the meetings to be public meetings, regardless of whether or not any of the trustees attended the meetings. The Open Meetings Act actually, applies to the board members, and when they attend meetings and there's more, they have a quorum or more, they need to post under the Open Meetings Act, and they usually post for attendance anytime they're gonna attend any kind of district meetings where they could be there. We want to be mindful of the Open Meetings Act. But what the board wanted was this committee and for all these committee meetings to be open to the public. So we have that level of transparency and that level of communication out to the district. So what is also happening is, as you know, these meetings are being simulcast. So you can watch them on YouTube, and when I was out, I watched every single meeting via YouTube and was able to participate and text people from time to time. But also, we have a district website. On our website, there's a particular page that is dedicated to this, where we have all the information, and everything that's being discussed is going to be posted on that website as we go along. And all the maps that you generate, the maps that the district have, they're going to be posted on those websites. We're going to update, there was a progress report to the board already, just about when the meeting dates were going to happen. There will be a survey in July that goes out to the public and put it out on our, to wherever the district puts out all of its communications. And it'll be, allow our district community members to give their opinion on some of the maps and whether they like them or which they prefer or not prefer. We'll need to have those results back, and so this committee will analyze those results. And then in August, after analyzing that, there'll be a board update at the August 16th meeting. And then from there, the board will consider and adopt a redistricting plan on September 20th. But before the district does that, or the board adopts that plan, it'll be posted on the website, so there will be plenty of time for the public to comment on it in advance. And then after that, of course, we're going to give notice to any governmental entities that we need to do or anywhere else. So this is your most important slide. The criteria that we have to follow, and this is the criteria either in the law or what the board decided they wanted to guide you with. So remember, compact and contiguous districts, adopt districts of comparable population, meaning they want them as nearly as practicable of equal population, and that's because that's required by the law. You're to base the redistricting plan on existing districts. We're not just throwing everything out, right? Because these are where people vote, and people like to have continuity and consistency where they vote. They want you to use whole voting precincts, right? So we're not going to split precincts, and in some of the meetings, we've already talked about fixing a split precinct. That is, I don't know how it happened, but it's there, and I don't know the history about it, but it's time to fix it.
Michael told us all about it.
We're going to preserve incumbent constituency relationships. So we're gonna avoid pairing, we're not putting two people, like, we wouldn't redraw the lines in such a way where you would have, for instance, trustee Arvali and trustee Hernandez in the same district. We're just not gonna do that. There will be, we'll make communities of interest in neighborhoods. We're gonna avoid plans that prejudice minority voters and single-member districts. This is probably one of the most important things you need to remember, and the public does too. This has nothing to do with attendance zones. Whatever this committee decides is not gonna change anywhere anybody goes to school, right? That is a completely different process, and it's not being tackled by the district right now. All right, so going back to the requirements and just, looking at those, looking back at the population averages and the differences, you can see on the district average, we kind of want to get as close to that district average as possible, but without disrupting a lot of things, to be honest with you, right? So we have to go to the least populous and the most populous, and so when you go through that exercise and you try to solve that problem, we would make adjustments to District 4 and 5. And it would be basically, this is just an example, moving one of the precincts, and these are precincts that are already drawn, we don't draw precincts, and just moving one precinct into 4. But when you do that, you also have to check the disparity between, excuse me, let me go back. I moved too quick on my thing. You have to then look at the adjustments and say, okay, now we adjusted 4 and 5, how does that affect the other ones? So then from this chart, you can see that creates a bit of a problem between 2 and 3, and we've got a bit of a difference, the 10%, so there would need to be an adjustment there. And so then you would make the adjustments to 2 and 3. How do you do that? Well, you pick a precinct, and you gotta remember, we're looking compact and contiguous, gotta be touching, right? And so you can make that change. And then you go back to do the exercise, this is what it would look like, and this is how those adjustments would be made. So honestly, you can do it in 2 moves. So this is adjusting 4 and 5, and then 2 and 3, and then you have no more of a disparity of 8%, well within the 10% that's required by law. So with that, unless there's any questions for me, that completes my presentation, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Maldonado.
I did just have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know after we're done with this process and it's presented to the board, can you elaborate on how the attendance zones will work? Is that done by the district, presented to the board, or does the board set a committee for attendance zones? We just didn't understand how that process worked.
Right, and I don't know that the board has actually adopted that process yet.
Oh, okay.
And it will be coming in the future, because I know that there is interest from at least 1 or 2 trustees that would like, if not more, to do that, right?
But that'll be after the election then, right?
It could very well be. I can tell you, attendance zones will not be adjusted for the 22-23 school year,
Right,
because
so
we're too
come into the
close in
23
time to
year
that.
if they
So
do
you're
that.
looking for, it would be for the 23-24 school year,
Okay.
if indeed that were done, and that would be by board action. And the
Okay.
board could set up a committee to do that, or they could not. My understanding is that they want to do that, but just to be,
Does that, I guess my question is, does that happen after the election for redistricting? Or is it after they've made a decision, we're gonna redistrict, here's the election dates? Like, is it before that, or is it after?
it doesn't, I mean,
It
there's
doesn't
no
matter, right?
requirement
Okay.
for that process,
It's
for
not like
attendance
this,
zones.
'cause
It's not,
state, okay.
it's not like this. This
Okay.
is required in the Texas Education Code and all that. Attendance zones is like, they could tell people, it's where you attend school, and
Right.
it's not necessarily a legal problem,
Okay,
right? And this is more of a legal math problem that needs to be solved.
okay, thank you.
Fair enough? Anything else, Mr. Maldonado?
Oh, I have another question, Ms. Collins.
Yes, of course.
When Michael was here, he talked about some of the missing precincts. Were you guys able to find out about it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Maldonado and I spent about an hour on the phone with the county,
Lovely.
with the elections department, talking about the question, it's really that area that's in Fort Bliss.
Right.
And whether or not some of those precincts were recognized and whether or not they had the maps and the population in them. It appears to be something that the county was not aware of because this dates redistricting software was recommended to us by the county
Right.
when they went through the process. So we're looking into that. Victor is able to look at, it might be able to rebuild them by census blocks.
Okay.
But we're also looking into another software. And if we need to get it by next week, we'll do that before we go too much further down the road. But I expect, though, frankly, that the population counts are gonna be minimal. But there are some things that we're gonna talk about, the maps that were presented last week, that I do think present quite a problem
Right.
with regards to the criteria
Okay.
that was by law and adopted by the board, and we'll go through that. And what Mr. Maldonado is gonna do right now is he's gonna walk through all of the options
Okay.
that the district has presented, because there were 4, right?
Correct.
And then this committee has come up with 3 different ones.
Yeah.
One that you didn't particularly like,
Right. I
But-
told you not to. put it in there.
but all of our work is gonna be out there, so don't worry.
Okay.
And then the 2 that were made last time. And so we'll walk through those and then we'll talk about, and we'll just talk about the criteria and
I
whether it's
just worry
being met.
about like the precincts that we're not missing any other ones outside of that, so I just wanna make sure that that's looked at.
Yes, we
All your
are,
power and might.
we are
Okay.
very much looking at that.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Situate here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of our regular presentation, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring up a PowerPoint that I put together reflecting all of the options that we have available to us up to date. All right. So we'll go ahead and start. The first part of this presentation mimics what we had previously. It's going to go ahead and walk you through the 4 options that we have presented to you, and then we'll get into the new options. Okay. So, as I mentioned previously, option 1, we are looking at, let me get my notes here. Okay, we are looking at moving precinct 55 from District 5 to District 4, and we are looking at moving precinct 75 from District 3 into District 2. The resulting map would look as such, and our table with our new totals is reflected here. The one thing we want to, again, look at is the 10% or less requirement between the most populous and the least populous. And in this example, we are showing a range of 8%. Again, remember what we talked about last time is that we found that there's a difference between the way Dave's maps calculates the range and the way we are calculating the range. The method we are using is stricter than what Dave's maps is using. So if we go ahead and divide the most populous by the least populous, we are sure to also cover the method that Dave's maps uses. So in this case, the 8% would pass the test of being within the 10% range between the most and the least populous. Okay, and that's option 1. Option 1 reflects only 2 changes. Okay, let's go ahead and look at option 2. In option 2 is the same as option 1. However, we also see that in option 2, we are fixing the split precinct, which is precinct 8, and is currently split between District 6 and District 7. The resulting map is reflected here, and our table is very similar to the table for option 1. And we see here that the range we are hitting is 7%. So again, we are hitting the target of staying within the 10% between the most populous and the least populous. As we're looking at option three is representing, we're looking at 6 changes. We have precinct 55 going from District 5 to District 4. We have precinct 176 going from District 6 to District 7. We have that split precinct in precinct 8 being fixed between District 6 and 7, going from 6 into 7. We have precinct 41 going from District 1 into District 3. And we have precincts 73 and 75, both going from District 3 into District 2. The resulting map is shown here. And our table is reflected here. Our range in this case is 6%. And as mentioned, we are looking at 6 moves here. Okay, option 4. In option 4, we are showing 5 moves. Again, we're looking at precinct 55, and in this case, we're looking at precinct 56, both going from District 5 into District 4. Again, we're fixing the split precinct 008 between 6 and 7. We're gonna have it all go to District 7. We have precinct, looks like, I believe it's 66, going from District 4 into District 3. And we have precinct 74, moving from District 3 into District 2.
Mr. Maldonado, if we were to go with that last one that you just had up
Yes,
there, then that would move me out of District 4 into District 3. Because I live right there, right in the middle, so I think,
Is, here, is this,
I think we have a start by your precinct, no?
is this
yeah,
here?
right here.
I didn't think we had,
No, but down,
Oh, no.
well, I'm like right in there. I live in
she's 4,
District
isn't she?
66. I think, can
You
you
mean
show me
precinct?
street?
Yeah, can you go to the county one?
Sure, let me go ahead
Oh,
and,
that's gonna change everything
Do you
for us,
have a
because
street view?
yeah.
we had it marked somewhere else.
I
Let's see.
think.
I had it,
Let's double check.
Okay.
sure, let's see, I had you in, it looks like 61, based on the
What's
address
61?
provided.
Oh, it's way up there. Oh, okay, I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
good.
she's
Oh.
way at this,
Okay.
It's just that when
She's
I
way
saw
down
the
here.
map, I thought that's-
Yes, it's, the scale, you know, when it's not right, or when you don't have references, it's difficult to see, but, okay, excellent.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So we're here looking at option 4, and we said we have 5 changes, 5 moves. Precinct 55 and precinct 56 going from District 5 into District 4. Precinct 8 going, or the portion of 6 going back into 7. We have precinct 66 going from District 4 to District 3, and we have precinct 74 going from District 3 into District 2. Here's what our map would look like. And here we see that the range is 9% from the most populous to the least populous. And again, that is with 5 moves. So we are hitting our target there. Okay, June 15th, I believe, was at Hien, and we talked about
No, I think that was
Again?
Brown.
Brown, correct,
Brown.
yes, I'm sorry, Brown. Brown, and we had one option discussed there. Here is the Dave's map workspace that was saved after the meeting, showing the changes that were discussed in the meeting. Here is the table showing the changes that occurred. And in this case, we are looking at, my notes here. It looks like it was 10 moves. We had 10 moves. However, when we evaluate, and Dave's maps, I believe, put this at a range of 9%. But when we look at the ratio between the most populous and the least populous, we see that it's 10.1%. So that's going to go ahead and fall out of the
Yeah.
allowable range. And so this particular option, it would not be considered as a choice.
I told you not to. put that in. We were just dabbling.
Just because of that.
Yes.
None
Okay,
of us wanted it up. We were just
Yeah.
playing with it.
Just throwing things. out
all
there.
right. Okay, so when we look at our meeting on June 16th, which was at Murphy, We had two options presented to us by Mr. Apodaca. Thank you, Mr. Apodaca. The first option shown here is what Mr. Apodaca had
This
presented.
is pretty.
This is the map that he shared with us. And in this particular option, we ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, what is it, 5, 6 moves. With this particular option, Mr. Apodaca had researched new precincts that were not reflected in Dave's maps. However, the precincts are simply created from other precincts. And in this case, there were 2 precincts that were created from precinct 86. And 86 is this big portion here, and it originally went down here. That was 86. But what Mr. Apodaca found was that there was a precinct, I believe it was 219 and maybe 209 or something like that, that he utilized to develop or help develop what we have here. Now, as I was doing a little bit of research on this, I noticed that he did not fully use precinct 209. He took a portion of it. And actually, with this kind of little bridge over here on the left side with District 3, we are ending up with 2 split district or 2 split precincts with this particular option. And
Where are we splitting it? I'm sorry.
so the first split is this precinct right here. This is actually, I believe, 209. And 209 actually goes up and it connects
We're
to.
not seeing anything.
No,
sorry?
we're not
Oh,
seeing
no, no, no.
anything.
Sorry.
So you're talking here, right? Is this
Actually,
what you're
the here, I'll go ahead and show.
Thank you.
So 209, and let me get on this side so I'm not in front of the camera. So 209 is actually here, but it goes up and it connects here. And so that's where we see there's a split there with, because what's going to happen is when we finalize these, I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to use this tool to get the final shapes. I'm going to use another tool. And I've already pulled down the updated precincts, which contain these precincts. And so those will be used to come up with the final shapes for the
Did we
trustee
split
districts.
it? Because I thought we had a conversation that part of it might have gone to a SLED, or am I confusing that precinct?
No, this is all EPISD,
Oh,
this
okay.
particular portion.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, Isleta is in this area right here, and then down
Okay.
here. So 209 is gonna go up here, it's going to connect here, it's gonna go down here, and there's a teeny itty bitty little sliver that goes across here and then connects this block here. So with what's proposed here, there's, and you notice, 87 is also split because 87 goes here, it goes up and it connects. This is also 87. So we see here with this option, we have 87 being a split precinct as well as what will be 209.
So it's not reflected on any of your options either then?
Because on those options, it's looking, correct, it's not, but it's looking at it as one. There's,
As one whole?
correct, correct. So.
It kind of looks like that here too.
So that piece is right down here, and those are existing precincts.
So all these new ones are not reflected on any of them except for the one that Michael brought up?
Well, correct, but
clean them
he is not reflecting the entire precinct, because this is 209, and then there's actually another one over here that he has
And
not.
we don't know what the
Oh.
numbers are population-wise for those precincts?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do, because
Okay.
in Dave's maps, what's nice is that it has the population of this entire precinct as one. So as you start selecting blocks, it'll tell you what the population is of those selected blocks. So you can recreate these new, these precincts that aren't here and get the population
Can
for
you
those.
show us those precincts right now?
Sure, yeah,
So
absolutely.
we can see it, so we know what we're looking at as opposed to,
Okay,
and
yes,
see those numbers?
Okay.
And see how it
That,
changes it?
that purple area
yes, sir.
above 187,
Above 87?
above 87.
Okay, this right
above
here?
87. Okay, that's out there at Biggs.
Right.
Milam School, right, area?
Correct.
I believe so, yes, sir. I believe
Yeah.
Milam was like right in that area. Mhm. Yes, and as a matter of fact, we can use Mike's map, and we'll look at the populations of each of these.
Yes, because then that's going to reflect a change on your percentages, right?
No, the way the table is and the way I've created it is with the populations as this has been built.
Okay, so splitting the precincts as you presented it.
Correct,
So if we
correct.
didn't split it, what I'm saying is it's
Oh,
going to change, right?
Correct, yes, if we
Okay.
use the entire precincts. However, if we use the entirety of 209, which I said, again, goes up here and then connects across, and if we use the entirety of 87, 87 as well goes across, what's going to happen is District 3 will be non-contiguous.
Yeah, so we need to figure all that out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you can show us that, that would be great right now.
Sure. Yeah, let me go ahead and finish
Okay.
this, and then we'll go ahead and walk through it together.
Thank you.
Great. Excuse me. All right. All right, so we said we have 6 moves here, and the range with this particular option was 8%, which is within our 10% criteria. And then here is the Dave's Maps statistics table that shows us what the totals are and what the range is according to the Dave's Maps methodology. Okay, on June 16th, Mr. Apodaca presented a second option, which we see here. And on this option, I think we had 15 moves. I believe, yeah, 15 moves. And so.
I kind of like this one. I know
I
you're
do
going to
too.
talk to me about it. She's got that look.
I do, I like it too, but it's a
Right?
lot of moves.
I know.
So we had 15 moves with Mr. Apodaca's option 2. And then here we have our table, Dave's Maps table. Now, on this one, we do not have, you'll notice that over there in 86 and that Fort Bliss area, that none of those are, we don't have any split precincts
So
in
this
this
one's
example.
Okay.
Yes, correct. This
So it's
one
just
is
option 1.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, option 1 is the one that we're having issues with the split precincts.
And this one yielded the lowest percentage, right?
This one was 7%.
Yeah.
Not the lowest of all the options, but it is the lowest of the 2 options Mr. Apodaca presented.
So what says he's rebuttal on it? Says he talked to us.
So with regards to, remember, we need to go back to the criteria.
Right.
It was not only in the law, but adopted
yeah.
by the trustees. So splitting precincts is a no-no.
Right, so that one we're gonna go back and
So
look
we
at,
have one that's
yeah.
not. And you want to go ahead and put up the one that you were just talking about. The other one, it also, didn't it have split precincts or no?
No.
The second one, the
The
Mr.
second
Apodaca?
one, yeah, the second one.
It did not.
Okay,
Just had,
but let's look at the plan of that one. And then you can go to the,
would you like the map?
yes, please, the map. All right, so in this, I would tell you to look at the map, because remember, we're looking at compact and contiguous. Can you,
One away.
Oh, I'm sorry, there you go.
can you flip over now? So I want you to take a look at the configuration here, and I'll show you, because here you've got precinct 1 coming up like this, right? Okay. Everybody else is pretty compact, right?
Well, 1
Okay.
and 3 aren't really.
Right, but let's look at, if you can go to the the current map that we have.
The current map?
Be like on the 3rd page, I think, of the presentation, if you could flip to that. So if you scroll it, there you go. See how District 1 is much more compact? It's not splitting up like that, right? Because it kind of went up with the way it was being reconfigured. So an argument can be made that this is not as compact as it should be, right? And then you also have to think about the number of moves that you're making. Because remember.
How does that impact the budget?
Oh,
Does
it doesn't,
It
it
doesn't?
doesn't affect
Okay.
the budget at all, no.
Okay.
But it does affect where people vote and who they vote for.
Okay.
And so you could have voters that would be very upset if you're changing their districts, especially if you really didn't have a need to change the districts, right? Or Yeah, the configuration of the districts and who they vote for, whether or not they vote up here for this particular trustee, or if you vote down here for this trustee. That could affect how people feel about it.
But it does meet the requirements.
Technically, as long as we're not splitting precincts.
Correct.
An argument can be made that this is not as compact as this one was on the other one, right? You're moving it up, right?
And we're moving that 1 and 3 out,
But it's all together. You're not doing
or 2.
like.
Does the mountain have
I
any
think-
effect on that? Because the mountain
Right, has
is
no
part of
population.
68.
Well, the mountain,
No,
if
it's
we go
60.
back to can we go back to the current map?
Mhm.
See, in the current map, the mountain's not affecting District 1, right?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how far this comes over, but it's like, it was changing this and moving this, right? And so you're making it, the configuration, not as compact as it could be.
I think that number one, we want to get down to the lowest percentage difference within the allowable range under 10%, with the least amount of changes. I mean, let's not disrupt things that we don't have to disrupt. I do like I like the map. Is this
This is correct.
this is the current one, right?
This is current.
Okay, I
This-
like the second or third map that I saw, the one change being, 4 and 5 need to be shifted by about 4,000 votes, or residents each, and then 2 and 3 need to, and that gets us in our range, and I like the idea of taking away the split of 8 and putting
This one over
I
here.
think that was
precinct,
option
yeah.
3
Mhm.
that you had
Yeah.
Let me
presented.
go ahead and, if you
And
don't
I
mind,
think-
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll bring
go
those
ahead
up
and
then.
I
put
think
that one
option
up.
3 is one
Let me
that
go
we had all
to
agreed on.
presentation
Yeah.
mode.
Mhm.
Give it a second to load here. There it is. And let's see. So I'm gonna start from the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay, so option 1, just 2 moves, but that
Right.
leaves the split precinct.
right,
Option 2,
that's the one I like, right there. That gets us down to what, about a 6%,
this one is 7%.
7%?
The next option here has a few more moves, option 3, but this one is the one that gets us at 6%.
Yeah.
Well, I like the previous one there. It has the fewest number of changes, fixes the split precinct, and gets us into the range without disrupting a whole lot of stuff.
Can you show option 3?
This is option 3.
And this is the one that yielded 6%.
Correct.
I'm looking at the 2 reps that's impacting the most. How do you feel about these?
I like, I think it was option 2. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
It's the fewest number of moves, and I thought that's all we needed to do. But I wasn't aware of all these others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, let's get to our objective with the least amount of disruption and changes. And it keeps it more compact and contiguous.
We still have the question of missing precincts, so that's all going to be resolved too, for all of them, right?
But the missing precincts, if you recall, they were
It
all
won't impact
over.
option 2 or option 3.
Right,
It would.
they were all over in here, so, like, in this area, they were all on Fort Bliss,
Correct.
right? So this
but
is
what we
all
don't
in this
know is
area.
if the population impacted it, right?
Yeah, but I don't think any of the new precincts are going to move affect the changes within our district.
Correct. So
Right.
if you take the new pieces, which would be 3, you combine them, it's gonna equal what the
Right.
current,
Exactly.
Okay,
What
so
is-
it's
It's
include
gonna
the
be split
population.
within this.
Okay.
yeah, they've just been
That's my
split up
question.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the
Okay.
population is the same, correct.
Okay.
From a District 4 or 5 standpoint, that precinct is interesting because it feeds into urban. So the
Number
community-
55.
That's 55, yes. So not necessarily talking about attendance zones, but the community identity that's one where, when we campaigned, that was what came up quite often. And so that's kind of, from our perspective, when we look at it and talk about it, that's kind of one that makes sense for us. But,
So
the one
whose is
below-
it then?
It's mine right now. 55 is mine right now.
How do you feel about,
Uh,
well,
okay.
it's still gonna be yours.
Exactly.
Yes.
Attendance zone hasn't changed,
Correct,
but
so,
who you vote for does.
correct, so
Right.
then she would represent a precinct that feeds directly to Urban if she was there, if that
Yeah.
change was made.
Yeah,
Whereas-
that makes more sense
That's
anyway.
like Leah with Daniel Call. She's got, a precinct that feeds to Coronado, but she doesn't represent Coronado.
Yeah, and so for us, it's easier for us because we're
That moves the
neighbors,
precinct that
solo
you-
neighbors, it feels like.
Yeah.
50% of that, that's your, what you've done, the brand new,
Right.
consolidation of three schools. 50% of that feeds into the Andrews feeder pattern, 50% of that feeds into the urban feeder pattern. So that one, we have a little bit more commonalities on, just because they feed a little bit north, a little bit more towards Mountain Pass. So those are the two that you're looking at, so.
So which ones are you both wanting to keep bringing
No,
up?
I think they both like this.
And
Yeah,
to Isabel's point, this one has refused moves.
okay.
Um,
So you don't like option three?
This option,
So option three?
I mean, it's hard for me because it's
Yeah.
one move in our districts,
It-
and it's several others in others. I
Yeah.
don't know,
Option 2 and option 3 don't differ for them.
yeah.
For
At
them,
all.
but we gotta be mindful of all the other trustees that have those issues. Is precinct 25, the one that feeds into Coronado, but it's Leah's? I always get which one it is. I think it's 25, correct?
25,
Which school is that? Pre?
correct.
Yeah, so see, that's the same thing. So it's kind of like what you guys are facing. Leah has, that precinct, but the people that attend those schools are in Daniel Calls. So it's like,
And to Ms. Collins' credit, when she brought this to the
Yeah.
board the first time, she
it's not
did say
about
that that's a,
attendance, yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is a slippery slope for us. And again, for Isabel and I, because we're so close, and
Yeah.
we know our community, how
Yeah.
we're here, I can tell you very easily that works just from that perspective.
But it goes back to what she's saying, they're used to voting for certain people or certain areas, so any of these changes,
Which is why we're not even comment on option 3, just because
you don't know.
I don't know how it affects Al, Josh, Leah,
Yeah,
Freddie, or even Daniel.
I know it'll impact 1 and 7 for sure, because that's where I live. But Michael is not here to talk about Leah's. You're Josh's representative, right?
Yes.
Does any of those impacts, do you know?
Not much.
Not much. 73, what school is that again?
73, I believe that's Coldwell.
Coldwell.
Mhm.
Like Dyer, it's closer.
It's closer to,
Yeah,
Yeah,
to Al.
it is.
it's
I think
close to
that's kinda
Austin
why
High
we-
School. It's real close to Austin
Yes,
High
yeah.
School.
I think that's why initially all of us were kind of the consensus for option 3 because of these issues that each trustee faces when they
Mhm.
go out and get elected, right? So option 1 is a definite no
Okay.
on June 15th. It
Okay,
was always a no.
Yeah,
let me write that down.
Yeah.
I think so.
And just so for the purposes of this meeting, so we can.
They're
go
all just drafts.
Little bit, they're all drafts.
Yeah.
No. But, I mean, honestly, what is the reason why option no for you is not an option? Option 1 is not an option?
Oh, that was the one that we had all agreed on, but we're like, don't put that up. We were all just, that was our first day with this system. We're like, what if you move this around? What if you move
Oh,
that
okay,
around?
you're talking about one of the options from.
The
From
committee.
us,
From the committee
from
options.
us, from
Okay,
the
very
committee.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and that one, it's not an option because it doesn't fall
Yeah,
within the
exactly.
10%.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, but just so we're kind of clear and
Right.
letting the public know for anybody who's watching, to kind of
Yeah.
go through that.
Yeah,
It was June 15, option 1.
Yeah.
yeah.
So June 16th, option 2, I feel like we should still revisit once we get that information and not split those precincts, you know, and figure out why they were split to begin with. And I know Michael's, I think, sick, but when he comes back, we can figure out, you know, his approach to that, or maybe he didn't even know either. It was option,
There it is. option 1 on June 16th.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Committee option 1, June 16th.
Yeah, yeah, because that's the one that you said didn't meet it because it split some precincts that aren't listed on there, right?
Correct, yes. He is splitting with what he has here. What the precinct he was recreating was precinct, I believe it's 209. But he is not using the entire precinct. So and then even then it's split in 2 places. Like I said, by the northern eastern portion of precinct 87. There's a portion missing there, but also in order to make District 3 contiguous, he is actually splitting 2 precincts right there to kind of as I guess as a bridge for District 3.
Okay.
And and let me jump over there again if you don't mind. If the goal is to try to get District 2 some precincts in this area, you're going to split the precincts, 87 and 209, again, because both of them run off. So this is 87, it runs here on this
Yeah,
little
they would
piece.
interrupt. They would make them non-contiguous.
Correct.
Yeah.
209, so you're either gonna be non-contiguous or you're gonna split precincts.
So
If,
option 1's completely out.
if you are trying to get some precincts for District 2 in this area, because of this piece right there.
And then, Mr. Maldonado, also the fact that you're taking a chunk out of the Fort Bliss area there.
Yes, ma'am.
So Fort Bliss is not being maintained, and remember, one of the criteria is we wanted to keep communities of interest and neighborhoods or whatever. Well, that would be taking apart Fort Bliss as well.
Yeah.
That's something for the committee to take into account.
So then can we look at option 2 on June 16th? Because that
Sure.
kept communities together on the south side of the freeway. And that one didn't split precincts, right?
Correct. Let me go to presentation mode so we can see it better. And here we have the map, the
Yeah.
June 16th option 2 map presented by Mr. Apodaca.
Okay, and from what I remember at the last meeting, can you go to the county maps so we can zoom in on the
Oh,
streets?
Yes. Let me go
And
ahead.
that kind of gives us.
I do have the ability to use it in Dave's maps, or do you prefer the county map?
Probably the county.
Okay. So let's see. I believe it was Paso County votes?
Yeah. I want to make sure we got your precinct correct
Right
before
there.
we.
We've already
Yeah,
checked that,
okay.
it is, yes.
I'm in 61.
Okay.
61.
I just couldn't see the number.
Yeah. It's confusing to see with this stuff.
There we go. So let me go ahead and download.
I wonder how these lay out now with the new cities redistricting.
We asked Michael that at the last meeting, and he said,
That was Michael Apodaca.
he said that one of the options, they were pretty similar. They're not gonna be aligned with the county because the county's just like all over. But I think I just forget which one he said that were pretty similar, if not close.
That's the idea.
Yeah, yeah, I think it may have been option 3 that they presented, but don't quote me on that, because I didn't bring my notebook.
I'm sorry, which precinct did you?
Okay, so if you can zoom in to precinct 37,
Let me go ahead.
I just want to, I think on this one, and I think the reason why I preferred it was because if you look at 36 and then 37, you're taking those communities of interest, you know, the Bowie, the Alameda, the Chamisav, and giving them one representative as opposed to splitting it. So So if you look
Right there.
at 36 and 37,
Mhm.
kind of hard to
Bottom?
see.
Oh, is it, are these, this one and this one here? Oh,
Yeah,
Yes.
so that is
Mhm.
south of the freeway, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The freeway's here,
yeah.
oh, thank you, yeah, 37. So it looks like 37 is south of the freeway, but 30, thank you so much.
36 isn't?
36,
It's just that one cut, like, but it's like the Mesa portion of downtown, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. And then it kind of takes all of that Bowie, the Jefferson, and then Burgess, so it kind of gets all of that representation and making sure that there's, one representative.
Mhm.
Now, so, and then it addresses the District 7, District 1, even though it's not attendance zone, but, you know, the way people think when they go out and vote. Can you go to 60 and 68?
What side of town is that?
That's like the central, that's that area that kind of goes into the northeast. Like central and northeast.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I just, I'm not.
Oh, yes, here it is.
Okay, so it does, it's just mountain for part of it. So 60 and 68.
Mhm.
So that's that scenic drive.
Yeah.
Scenic is here at the bottom of 68.
Right.
Mhm.
Mhm.
60 is the precinct I used to live in, and it pretty much considers itself part of northeast El Paso.
Yeah, right.
And that would be putting it down into, I don't like that plan at all.
Can you go to precinct 25, please? It's a little bit more to this, it's right next to
Yeah.
68, but it's kind of hard to,
Yeah,
Yeah, right
Oh, there it is.
so that is what, Montecillo, 29, 24. Oh, that's mine. Okay. What do you guys think?
there. Is it? I lost it now. What is it?
I don't see any reason that there needs to be any change there. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Is
So
this
I
a-
live in precinct 25, and kind of similar to what these two trustees mentioned,
Mhm.
is, you know, that's one trustee's area, but the school that it feeds into is another trustee's
Where's
area.
it feed into?
It feeds into Coronado,
Okay,
and Dr. Green feeds into that
Mhm.
Coronado feeder pattern. Even
I
though
see.
we're not looking at attendance
Mhm.
zones,
yeah.
but the way people go out and vote and they think,
Mhm,
they're
mhm.
like, well, I want my representative, you know, and vice versa. Do you have any recommendations? Just option 2? We're gonna give you 5 options. And then you guys can decide.
Can figure it out.
So the population of District 25 is 5,500 people, so I mean, anytime you move that many people, you're causing a shift that requires more movement than.
What do you guys
So
think?
while you're taking a look at that, I'm gonna go ahead and make the public announcement for anybody who wants to make public comment. There wasn't anybody here to make public comment, but, you know, open up the floor just in case. All right, there is none.
Is there any option that everyone can agree on? Should we run down them?
I don't think we have to make a decision tonight. We've got several more meetings to go, and this is my first one, so.
Yeah,
Um,
did we have?
Plenty.
If you take the,
We have
okay,
three
if you
more
take the
meetings.
population of the district, 319,124, divide it by 7, okay? The ideal population of each district should be 45,589. 1 in 7 are practically there. And so I don't see a reason to be shifting between 1 and 7.
out of the options that you presented, option 3 yielded the 6%, right? That was the lowest?
Correct,
Okay,
that is correct.
did like that one. I think we all like that one off the bat. Hi, Michael, where are you? Just kidding, Michael. We want you to go back. So option 1 on June 16th, there's no way that one would have worked at all, right? Because of all the split precincts.
Like either 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, those, the way they created those precincts,
It's
with
just
those
a 6
slivers,
Yeah.
it's just.
or 7%
Yeah.
with minimum changes.
Option 2 of June 16th also got us to 7%, right?
Yeah, but it
Correct.
created an awful lot of,
15 changes.
Too many changes.
when you talk about people saying, well, that's not who I used to vote for, it's gonna really,
So the attendance zones then.
You guys like option 2 or 3?
From my own personal perspective, yes.
One or the other?
I have to lose a precinct, so, I mean,
You're okay
that's
with
the harsh
that?
reality. I mean, I'm not, but that's the harsh reality of what redistricting is. I'd love to take all the precincts, but,
But hopefully you'll gain
again, it's,
something.
from my perspective on my precincts, knowing my community, this is the least impact it's gonna have.
Okay.
Now, if the Northeast went across the mountain, I'd be adamantly like, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Just because I have no
It used to
connection.
be that way.
Yeah, and I just have no connection, and,
Okay.
you know, that's just not what we're used to over here.
So that one that, which one was it? That option that Michael presented, which was option 2, where it cuts Leah's into part of it, you did not, right? Which is precinct 60
That was one where-
and 68 next to Chapin?
So, I think, it becomes a little bit more difficult, so that's her area, the Chapin area.
Okay.
I'll just say, it's the general military area that you're
Right.
now gonna be impacting, and separating.
Sure.
And so that's the only issue that I would see there
Okay.
from my perspective, because you have that huge connection to the military, that's what it's always been. You'll be breaking that up and now providing it to, we're connecting to the west side.
Okay.
So that identity is what I think is broken. But again, I can't speak to that because it's not my district.
And we have the largest population.
It's all-
Maybe you have to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I know, it's like one day it's gonna be precinct 194, 44, and 45, that's gonna be District 5 and EPISD. Like, that's the reality of
When the
life.
new schools come in,
Yeah.
all those kids,
That's the reality of the future of this district.
that could be another 5,000 potential,
yeah.
10,000 families, but 5,000 hopefully kids going into the district.
Exactly, so that's why
Okay.
it has to be addressed, but, you know, that's 10 years down the road, so that comes to fruition.
Hopefully 3 years. Okay, so option 2 or 3 is what you guys prefer. How
Yep.
about you, Representative?
All I know is that, I'm still not clear why that in District 3, there was a split in
That was-
What option are you looking at?
She's talking about option 2 from Mike.
Oh, yeah.
So that was an option that he presented,
Yeah.
last meeting, and what that would do is, yeah, it's only on the board.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got,
But why did that happen?
It was just,
You're just
Proposal.
getting a
Oh,
different
it was just
options.
a proposal.
it's just an
yeah.
option.
I wouldn't want that one, that's all
Okay.
I know. Because it got confusing for Representative Call and Avalos when they were doing the campaign. They said it was a big confusion
Yes.
when there was a split district. So for that reason.
On
I didn't
option
want-
1 or option 2?
Well, the one, I don't know which option.
Oh, it was
but
option
when the
one.
split was
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
District
That's a
3.
definite no.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Which is
That's-
outside of the
Mhm.
Precinct.
and that
Yeah.
one I know I wouldn't vote,
Yeah, no.
but other than that.
So then, where we really go from here is we have 3 more meetings, right? So you can digest this. I know this was your first meeting, so give you a little time to digest it. We can certainly consider additional options, and we're able to move the maps, and we can do that. But remember, we're still sticking with that, gotta get it to the board. for adoption on September 20th, which means bringing it to the board on the August 16th meeting, I think is the date of the meeting. And then putting it on the website so that people can see it. They have plenty of notice. But even before that is getting out the survey with whatever and how many options you want to survey people with. So, with full transparency to the public. So, unless there are further questions, I think that we've accomplished our goal for today.
Now, let me ask you this, you said there's, these meetings are advertised or put out and such, and there's people watching on Zoom or on,
They can,
yeah.
yes.
Do we have any idea how many people are watching, and are there,
Let me see if
are there-
Vanessa has that.
do people
that
watching
calendar.
have the ability to ask questions?
No, they do not have the
Okay,
ability.
they have to be in public,
Yes.
in
We have
person.
2 viewers
We
per.
only have 2 viewers today.
We had 48.
Wow.
First one, they had
48. As they, we do leave them up online,
Okay,
and the views grow, so I think right now, the first one's at 74, the second one's at 112, and the third one is about 174.
okay. My experience on having served on previous district, the reason you go around and move the meetings around town is to allow the public to attend
That's exactly right.
and such. And are we getting public input from any of the previous meetings, or?
Every meeting's been in a different middle school
Right, I know.
in the single-member districts, and I believe the attendance has been minimal.
Okay.
And, but they've done a lot of advertising, they've put it out, so I couldn't tell you why, the reason that is.
Because we're projecting as far as what we think people are gonna say. I'd like to hear from people if they, if the public even cares,
They have the option,
so.
they have the option.
So can you
And then-
explain
and then
the
this-
survey process? So we'll present to the school board the options, they'll post it up for survey to the public, is that the premise?
No.
Okay.
What'll happen is, in July, this committee will decide, okay, what options do you want to survey the public on, and which ones that they think that they might want to give their input on.
They'll
Right.
survey it before it's presented to the board?
That's correct,
Oh, okay.
right? Because you want to have that information when you present to the board. So,
And then from there, if we get feedback a
If-
certain way, we can make changes?
that's correct.
Okay.
So that's the idea. So the survey will go out with several options. Let's just say several options.
I think we
Let's say
need to hone it
let's say
down
if the
like 2 or
committee
3.
had 3 options, right? And we put the survey out and we ask people how they feel about it, to get that information back. This committee would reconvene, discuss those survey options, or the input, the survey input, and then that would be, you would present that to the board at the August meeting, and actually make a recommendation to the board. And it could
How long
be,
is the survey up, usually?
well, the survey's gonna be up for at least 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah,
you
it's
said?
gonna be up for a 2-week period.
And it's
It'll-
online only? Like, that's the only way that,
We haven't crafted the survey yet,
Okay.
but yes, yeah.
so they can't go to like the middle schools that we went to and like write it in if they're elderly or anything like that?
Well, the tool that they use is an electronic surveying tool.
Okay.
If they're able to go to the middle school, perhaps the campus can have an
I just
iPad.
worry about like the elderly that are not tech savvy and, I
Mhm.
mean,
No, But it's my understanding that the
Talking
surveying,
about you.
no, I'm like, I think about my mom, she's like, she still
I'm
calls me to
but,
program her TV.
but the survey the tool that they use is an electronic tool, and
Okay.
and it makes things go a lot faster,
Yeah, I
compile
know.
and summarize results and whatnot.
Okay. So do we have the date of like when we would have to meet after the surveys?
We have not selected that date
Okay,
yet.
just
That'll-
because
that'll-
July, people are traveling and.
Right. So the board meeting is August 16th.
Right.
So that gives us, you want to put out the survey for probably 2 weeks. So if we, by mid-July, and I know that my outside counsel mentioned this, mid-July is kind of what we were thinking about,
like
getting the
8th,
survey
like
out
10th?
there and then getting it back, and having, a meeting sometime before August 16th for you to consider the input from the survey.
So we could rather than meet in August, we're all traveling.
We can meet in August.
Okay.
Yes, it's in the schedule, to be determined an August day. And we'll try to work with everybody's schedule to make sure it's a date when we have the most committee members possible.
Thank you both for being here. It's good to hear your
Yeah.
perspectives, because I think about like where I live and the things that we see that we don't like in our precincts, like when we're going out to vote, it's like, oh wait, why, you know, even though I love everyone, I do, I really do. I love all our trustees. I think you guys volunteer tremendously, but you know, it's those things that we think about when we go out and vote. So I know like my area, he knows his area, the Northeast, so it's good to know that you guys want certain ones that don't want to be separated out. And it makes sense.
Yeah, and it making it easier for the voters and for those that want to know who they're represented by. That's primarily it.
And you have those similar issues that we see on the west side, like, well, why is this my trustee and my kids go here? And the splitting when they go to like the pre-K through 8, because that's what you're facing now, right?
Yes.
So you have half and half going.
Well, for the most part, it's pretty clear, but then, yeah, there's just some areas.
That one precinct, when I would wear Andrew shirts,
Yeah.
completely like, why am I going for an Andrew class?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, they don't contact me. I guarantee you, if any of them had a problem, they'd probably go to Isabel, because it's a problem at Urban, not me. I've yet to get any complaints or anything from Urban, even though I represent, I think it's like 3,500 people in that district, or that precinct, but that doesn't.
And it's closer to me.
Yeah. That's good to know. So thank you.
Okay.
Well, I want to thank everybody for their participation today, coming out, and it is now, I think, 6:49 PM, is that correct? And we will adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you all
Mr.
for serving
Jackson,
too.